It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
The Health in the Real World podcast is sponsored by...
If you have kids, you know how hard it is to motivate them to do anything. Kids want to be in charge of their own lives to the extent possible. They are capable of more than we think. Now, this journal that I've created helps to empower your child, allowing them to take charge of their own little lives. And guess what? It also gets them to actually do stuff. It's pretty awesome. You can track chores that you pay them for. You can track chores that you just need them to do, regardless of whether or not they get paid. You're teaching kids the value of work and money while having fun. This is going to save the day. Again, the Chore Book by me, Chris Janke, available at Amazon.com. Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World. I'm Chris Janke, and I'm joined today by Sonia Jhas, and she is a mindset and wellness expert. Sonia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. What a pleasure.
So give us a little bit more detail as far as how you work, how you got into this field, who you're working with, and what you do to help them.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, the how I got into this field, that is a bit of a loaded question. I feel like I could hijack the entire podcast episode with just that. So I'm going to try and keep it succinct. I guess I'm a mindset and wellness expert in that, I have a sort of strong focus on fitness and nutrition, but really most of my passion and sort of years of experimentation and now expertise lies in the mindset space because I was sort of your classic on again, off again, hamster wheel, weight loss kind of gal growing up, and sort of put my body through all sorts of punishment to try and achieve the quintessential size 0. And then got to a really strong inflection point sort of at around 25, where I had achieved a lot of milestones and ticky marks and was considered successful in the corporate world and was married and husbands and things and all the things that you're supposed to have to lead you to happiness, only to sort of sit there and say, I'm at war with myself on the inside though, and there's no amount of accomplishment that's going to be able to Band-Aid solution that. And so I went on a journey within and really focused on fitness and nutrition from a place of working with my body instead of against it, and really did a lot of digging through the layers of conditioning that had created this turmoil around my body and body image and all of it. And so I think through that journey, I accidentally uncovered like a really deep passion towards not only the subject, but really, really helping people. I was like, wanting to go up to every girl bobbing up and down on the elliptical at the gym, being like, you're doing it all wrong. Let me help you. And was like, that's not the way to do this. And so quit the corporate world, sort of launched myself into the space. And it's been sort of a decade-long journey. So I currently spend my time doing a lot of media segments and sort of radio stuff and just media overall, including podcasts. And then I coach clients one-on-one, thanks to the power of Zoom globally, and then do a lot of speaking as well. So I recently did a TED Talk, so that sort of just sort of moved me more into the mindset space as opposed to being traditional fitness and nutrition, and have a book coming out in just a couple of months, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. And that is called I'll Start Again Monday, right? And
I'll start again on Monday. And other lies I've told myself. Yes.
That's awesome. I love that title. So that
struggle
girl
is real.
Exactly. The girl on the elliptical that you want to walk up to and just say, you're doing it all wrong. What would you tell her if she said, let's just say that happened. You walked up to her, you actually said that. She said, oh, okay, I'm interested. Tell me about what I should do.
I think it's not that being on the elliptical is a problem, right? The elliptical can be a great machine. I think I use it sort of as like a stereotypical critique here because you go to the gym a lot of times and you see many females sort of bobbing up and down on the elliptical, reading a magazine or like, scrolling Instagram or chatting on their phone. And on one hand, you're like, okay, like if this is active recovery, that's pretty great. And if it's not, and if it's just that, this female thinks that she has to be on the elliptical for 90 minutes to 2 hours and that's going to get her somewhere, I think that to me is the part that you're like, ooh, red flag. You
Right.
also see, the other version of the elliptical person who is really pounding it out on the elliptical and they're just like going hard and doing it. And, they're doing it for 60 to 90 minutes. And it's like cardio is king, fasted cardio is king. And there's so much misconception around how to work out in an intelligent way, how to work out in a way that is going to really lead you to the long-term results that you want. And I sort of see issues on both sides. It's like, if you're bobbing up and down on the elliptical, well, then I have to have a conversation with you about the fact that like, you need to put in real effort. Like
Right.
effort really needs to feel like effort. If this
Right.
is pleasant and it's not active recovery, then it's not getting you anywhere. On the flip side, it's like, if you're pounding it out, the elliptical is what you're doing for 2 hours every day, and that's your form of weight loss, my friend, that is also not the solution, because really what we're trying to do here is build up muscle mass and metabolic health. And so all sorts of issues, but I think it would just really be about like, let's peel it back and understand what your actual objective is here and what tools are you using to get yourself there, because the elliptical can be an okay machine to use at times. But if it's the tool that we're leading with, then there's probably a problem.
Yeah. I think the perception's changing, but I think there's still a long way to go. Because I really enjoy actually talking to women about lifting weights. What kind of conversations do you have with them? Say that again, that stereotypical person who's on the elliptical thinks that if I lift weights, I'm going to get big and bulky. I'm going to have shoulders like a man. What do you tell that woman?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think, I really resonate with that fear because I myself had it for so many years. And even more so, I was under this misconception that it's like, okay, I'm going to lose the fat first and then I'll build the muscle. And it was this
Right.
like never ending equation that I thought I could solve, where it was like, okay, shed the fat, then build, not realizing until like a decade later that the building is going to be what helps you shed, and that it's that chicken and the egg that people are not willing to sort of really understand. And I think for me, that's sort of the first and foremost conversation that I have with, a lot of my female clients. And, just something as simple as pointing out that misconception, being like, you tell me if this resonates around the shed the fat, then build the muscle. And everyone's sort of like a bit embarrassed at first. And they're like, oh my God, she's like in my head.
Right.
But then they quickly realize that like, yeah, there is this deep misconception around fat loss and what's actually required to achieve that kind of fat loss and to sustain it. And this understanding around muscle and metabolic health and really having a high functioning metabolism, there's still a major disconnect there for, I think, most people. They don't really get it. They're like, but a calorie is a calorie, or
Right.
carbs are bad, or now keto is good. And I think, it's convoluted, yes, but actually when you peel it back, it's relatively straightforward in a way.
Yeah.
And so it's both a little bit shocking still that so many women are carrying these misconceptions, but also really lovely when you have that first conversation with them, because very quickly you can see that aha moment happening, the light bulb happening, and the willingness for them to actually just like trust that they're going to do it differently this time, really focusing on building muscle first. I think it's kind of a nice shift to see. And I see that happen with my clients, obviously within the first conversation, but then, week after week, month after month, as we work together, it's like they trust, but they don't really trust until they really start to see it happen. And they're like, oh my God, it's magic. And you're like, well, it's science, but it does feel like magic, which is pretty
It feels
good.
like magic. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I find that misconception, I find that in like the stereotypical man too. It's like they want to gain a bunch of muscle. Okay, cool. I'm going to get really big first.
Yes.
We're going to do the bulking,
bulk,
and then we're going to cut.
And we're cut.
I'm like, do you know how hard it is? You get up to like 220 pounds. You know how hard it's going to be to lose like
that is a mess.
25 pounds. Like
Yeah.
Let's balance this a little bit.
Yes,
So
exactly.
that's so cool that your clients achieve that result. They start to believe you. They start to be your walking, talking billboard of results. And so going back to this real quick, and then we can move on. But one thing that I see, or one thing that I tell women in this conversation is I see, okay, you want to be lean, you want to be toned, you want to be all that. Toned just means low body fat.
Yes.
I say, okay, you as a woman should work out like that man over there. And they go, oh, but that man has big shoulders and he's a, I'm like, that's because he's a man.
Yes.
You're going to look like a woman.
Testosterone.
So it's definitely an uphill battle with this. And you see
Yeah.
all the steroid injecting women who do get rather large.
And you're just like, do you know how hard they work to do that though? Like they
God.
dedicate their time and energy to look like that. That's not happening by accident. So yeah, but I think it's the media, we grew up with like hanger thin shoulders and that heroin chic look in the 90s. It's all convoluted. It's just awful.
So what do most of your clients come to you for? Are they trying to lose a lot of weight? Are they trying to lose a little weight? Are they trying to gain muscle? What is kind of like the typical person that you see?
Most of my clients are actually looking to lose, I would say a lot of weight. Before, when I was training in person, it was a little bit different. It was like, I want a better trainer. I want somebody who knows what they're doing. I just want to be like fit and lean and just like really crack the code. And whether that was somebody who was already like conceptually petite and really just wanting to become a better athlete, or whether it was somebody who had like a little bit more like 20, 30 pounds to lose. It was a little bit different back then. But now, sort of at this stage, particularly during the pandemic, as I switched to sort of online work in this space, I'm not going to lie. I think the price point is what sort of asks for people to really be making a big commitment, both monetarily and emotionally. And I think people really have to be at their breaking point to want to do that. They really have to have tried all the other things, worked with other coaches, done the gimmicks and the hacks, gained a bunch of weight, lost it, gained it, lost it a billion times. And then they're finally like, okay, I can't live like this anymore. And so it's interesting. I do have a diverse range of clients for sure, but I will say, particularly over the last 2 years, they have become clients that are looking to lose, more than 20 pounds, more than 30 pounds, I'd say. And so it's a longer journey, which is really nice for me, because I get to really sort of be in it with them for a longer period of time, as opposed to like a quick refining. But you know what, I will say, like, COVID hit people really hard. And the amount of weight gain that happened sort of in that initial year, that exacerbated a lot of weight gain for a lot of women who were already sort of like postpartum or had had a kid or two. And then were like, oh my God, my body's committed to staying like this forever. And I'm stuck and I can't accept this reality. And so where do we go from here?
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. I also had my second child, actually like a couple months before the pandemic. So December of 2019, and wildly different than my first pregnancy. I gained 65 pounds, maybe almost 70 pounds, which was enormous for me compared to the casual 25 that I gained with my first child. And so, it's been nice to work with these sort of clients, because I'm coming off of my own revisitation to this journey of myself. Right. And so it's like, it's helping others, but it's also really drawing upon very current experiences that you've had yourself, which I think just builds that a little bit better.
I think that's awesome. And then you got into health and wellness originally because of what you went through more as like a child and a young adult. Right. And now you have this very recent experience of having a second baby.
Totally.
Yeah. What do you think it is about that you sort of solved the problem that you grew up with? You mastered health, wellness, and it wasn't just about being skinny. What do you think was it about that maybe appealed to you to start helping people with that struggle as well?
I think, we like to look at fitness and nutrition, or health and wellness, as its own category. Right? We're like, oh, this just like operates as a silo over here, but everywhere else, I'm awesome. And I think when I was really sort of going on the journey within, what I realized is that it's all so interrelated. it's all tangled up with the same lack of clarity around values and limiting beliefs and perfectionist tendencies and the stories we tell ourselves and the lack of self-worth and the shame and the guilt and all the stuff that we think may or may not exist on this side, but like doesn't have anything to do with the fact that we like to eat cake secretly at night. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and I think for me, when I went on sort of that personal journey, I had so much clarity start to develop around how deep the layers went and how holistic the journey to come back to a place of being at peace with your body instead of at war with your body was, that I really felt called to want to shift people's perspectives on how they're coming at the problem, less so about how they're putting together the tactics to solve the problem. Like there's a million people out there who can do that, right? Like as I said, this isn't magic, it's science. It's actually not that complicated, but it's the mindset. It's the shifting and undoing and reformatting of all the garbage that you're carrying around that's leading you to this place where you do hate your body and you do sort of carry these really negative emotions. It's the reformatting and sort of coming at that very differently that is ultimately what leads you to long-term success, whatever that success is supposed to look like, right? Whether that's more muscle, whether that's less fat, whether that's just being able to eat a piece of cake without crying about it, like whether that's more flexibility or less flexibility, whether that's discipline or commitment. Like there's so many areas here and we're all working on different things. But I think for me, the biggest thing about helping people and that desire to do that was that I realized very quickly that this was about so much more than fitness and nutrition. And that if people could start to understand that and look at it differently with a little bit of self-compassion, not only would it change their relationship with their body and their actual body, but even more so, as it did for me, it'll change their entire life, right? Like when I came to a place of peace with my body, I reclaimed my power. And in doing so was like, I don't deserve to be happy. I am going to quit the corporate world. I do deserve to pursue my passion. I am capable of working hard. And all of those things that were so woven together suddenly started to release their hold, and my whole life changed. And so it's not like your life is changing because you're losing weight. It's not like, oh, I became like skinny and then it's like, I'm successful. No, but it was that caught up in all of that self-hate and the yo-yo dieting and the punishment was so much that was holding me back from my real potential and my authenticity more than anything, right? It was chasing this idea of a body as opposed to honoring what my body was supposed to look and feel like. And similarly, it was like chasing this idea of success versus starting to look inward and say, like, who am I and what do I want? And so that's, I think, the most rewarding part about this. It's like you work with people and yes, you are their health and wellness coach, but then you end up changing their entire life. And it's like, oh, what could be, I just got goosebumps. Like, what could be better than that? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that distinction that I just thought of. It's like, it's not that losing the weight, getting that ideal body is somehow like this magical thing. It's that, you know, like you said, slipping off at midnight and eating a slice of cake is a symptom that something's going on, right? Like you said, it's not in this silo and isolated.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why we do it.
That's why we do it.
We're
That's why
changing.
we do it. Exactly. I don't like exercising that much that I
don't
I'm not like obsessed with exercise. That's not why I do this.
Oh my God. I've been telling people recently this. I'm like, you know what? I actually don't like working out. And they're like, what? You don't? I said, I feel good after.
Yeah.
I feel good during most of the time. And I like the results. Like, why else would I do it? If knocking on the table got the same results, I would just knock on the table once a day for an hour.
Yes, I'm with you. We are not exercise obsessed people. And that's why we have chosen these careers. I think it's just, as you said, it's like there's so much to it and there's so much power in it. So it's been really lovely.
Oh, that's great. So to end the show, I like putting you in front of like a university graduation, and you're going to give your keynote speech about how to get the most out of life. So you're the motivational speaker. what is some advice that you would give? You can go whatever direction you want with this big picture.
Oh boy. Well, conveniently, I am coming off of a TED Talk. So I think I may
You're all
just
practiced.
borrow a little bit from there. I think, really what I found sort of through my own experiences, and I continue to have to face and reface again and again and again, is this idea that happiness lives outside of ourselves, and that if we can just do the things and get the things and push and chase and race, that we'll get to this place where one day we'll be like, okay, I made it. And now's when the good part starts. And there is no destination from what I have experienced. It's like, I remember thinking like, well, when I get my first TV segment, then I'll feel good enough. Then it was like, okay, but like once I become a regular on TV, then I'll feel good enough. Then it was like, once I land my first magazine cover, then I'll feel good enough. And, it was like, okay, once I have children, once I, win some awards, once I get a TED Talk, once I anything, it's like, then I'll be able to drop my shoulders and say like, yes, you've arrived. And the sad reality is that after years and years and years, and I'm talking years, like I have been chasing since I was 5, I've realized that there is no destination. It is solely about the journey. And that journey is about getting closer to who you really are, to getting to know the real you, to tuning into your actual internal compass, which we override every moment of every day, most of us, to figure out, what do you want? What stories are you telling yourself? What is getting in the way? Because coming at the problem again and again with the same solution we know is insanity, but really digging through the layers to connect with who you are, to figure out what life do you want to live and who do you want to be, is, I think, something that most of us don't really prioritize because we're so caught up in the race. We don't realize we're doing the race until we get there and are like, I'm still not happy yet. What's the problem? Or moreover, we're so disconnected that we don't even know that we're not happy, right? Because we're just so caught up in the web of everything and just the demands of life, whether we're parents or not or whatever. It's just living in the chaos. And so my recommendation would be to get to know yourself, not through the lens of social media, not through the lens of your parents or your spouse or anybody around you. Like, really work on developing that connection. And through that process, you're going to come up against a lot of garbage. But once you connect to that internal compass, you will know where to go. You will know what to do, and it won't be easy, but you'll be able to tap into power and courage and bravery and do hard things in a way that often feels really hard to do because you are not actually satisfying your own evaluation criteria, right? Like, that is, to me, the biggest thing, is that we all are like, well, we want to be successful and we want to be pretty and we want to be happy. And like, what is the problem? And you're like, what is your actual evaluation criteria though for your life? Like, the actual characteristics. What is actually important to you so that you can every day go to bed saying, yeah, I did good today. Because if you rely on your emotions to dictate how you're doing, well, we're all horrendous to ourselves. 90% of us are really negative. We have really negative inner dialogues. And I think the biggest thing about that is that, if we're just going to wing it and hope for the best, thinking that we're going to like be our own internal cheerleader, it's not going to happen. We're not usually looking on the bright side of things. And so it sounds so rudimentary, but it's like, get clear on your evaluation criteria for your life that is specific to only you, so that you have a touchstone that can continue to be how you dictate the decisions you make, the choices you make, the outcomes you have, where you put your attention towards, and what you invest your energy in, because otherwise life will suck the soul out of you, and social media will suck the soul out of you.
It'll definitely suck the soul out of you.
Yeah, that's it. That's going to be my ending note. Social media will suck the soul
out of you.
Exactly.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well said. Well, again, this is Health in the Real World. We're here today with Sonia Jhas. Sonia, how do people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Instagram at Sonia Jhas, SONIAJHAS, or at soniajhas.com. Yeah, both are great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me again. Health in the Real World podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.